Right. Welcome to the Crusade Cast. This is one of your hosts, the Reaper, aka Ben. So, the reason why I'm here tonight is because I actually wanted to I thought it was a pretty interesting subject because this one can actually be, you can consider it part biblical based theology and somewhat a little political. And I actually found this to be interesting because America's been going through kind of a weird spiral. And the Bible has many things where it talks to, fellow Christians or people learning about Christianity, and it talks to them about all the things you shouldn't be doing, all the things you should be doing. And most of all, it tells you that you're not perfect. But what I found was interesting is that America is on sort of a moral decline. We're on a slope away from Jesus Christ. And I I just got this thing that just hit me. And it was like, hey, you know, we have a lot of things that challenge us on a daily basis. And the Bible does talk about demons. And it got me thinking, could of the things that or any of the things that America has been dealing with, any of its major situations, could any demons be behind it? Could any of these things fit what some of the demons in the Bible are known for? So I don't know what really got me to go into this, but I did want to go into this because I found this to be very intriguing. And as you can see here, what's on the thing is 10 names demons in the Bible. And let me see here. Well, this just says 10 names, but there's a couple others. I may have gotten rid of the one that I wanted to show you guys, which that does happen, and I do apologize. But I think I accidentally got rid of it. So these are a couple of the names. We're going to go over a few. So we're going to go over Moloch. We're going to go over Beelzebub. And there is one more. And the reason why I'm doing this is because as America gets further and further away from Jesus Christ, away from God, we are continuing to see the American dream and our society declining. And it makes you wonder. It's like, could this be a coincidence? Could there be forces out there that, as we get further away from God, gain more and more control? So I started to do this kind of digging, so to speak, so that I can actually share with people that, yeah, I mean, there are things going on in America that are major issues, and I see demons that actually fit these categories. So let's look into it, right? So unfortunately, like I said, this was not the list that I originally had. I have a feeling I accidentally got rid of it. So sorry about that. Next time I'll double check it before we start the stream. So the first one on my list is Moloch. Moloch is a figure mentioned in the Hebrew Bible. But let's get into what they say Moloch is. Moloch, also spelled Malak or Molech, well, you can see the difference. They're pronounced the same. Appears several times in the Hebrew Bible, particularly in the book of Leviticus, where the Israelites are explicitly prohibited from offering their children as sacrifices to him. Worship of Moloch is strongly condemned, and Bible associates it with apostasy and moral corruption among the Israelites, as seen in the reign of King Solomon, who allowed pagan temples, including those dedicated to Moloch. 1 King 11:7, or chapter 11, verse 7. The rituals were reportedly carried out in locations such as the Hinnon Valley, also called Tapith, meaning pit of flame. So essentially, this is a demon that is known for child sacrifice. But wait a minute. What on earth could be seen as child sacrifice in America? Who would willingly really want to do this? And then it got me thinking, let me put it together. Let's go on a little bit of a journey. And well, we don't need this page anymore. I got to thinking of abortion. And here is the definition of abortion: the deliberate termination of a human pregnancy. Most often, we don't need to know the informed during, but abortion, it's the deliberate termination of human pregnancy. I know a lot of people like to say that you're destroying cells, but the fact of the matter is, any real scientist, anybody who's really about the science, they're going to tell you the minute the sperm meets the egg, that is the beginning of life. It doesn't matter if it's not fully formed, that is life. So Moloch actually would fit this. You're killing a child. Moloch is known for child sacrifice, and it's even mentioned in the Bible. So I wanted to go into a little bit of numbers. Let's see what's going on here. Is abortion really a big problem? Is it not? I mean, are we killing a lot of kids? Let's take a look. So the reasons for abortions really do matter, right? Is the mother's health really, in danger for most of these? Are there a lot of incest going on? Is there a lot of rapes going on? Are these legitimate life-threatening concerns? Because to me, killing children should never just be a good thing. It should never be something that's easily accessible unless you can make a case for rape, right? Like, let's just say I concede, which obviously, I wouldn't really be too thrilled about it. But for the sake of argument, let's just say rape is a no-no. We're willing to concede that. Well, guys, this is the graph up here of the numbers that are here. Rape and incest, 0.4%. Get the heck out of here. With how many people argue for abortion over rape and incest, you'd think it's at least 51%. Let's keep going. Risk to the woman's life or a major bodily function, 0.3%. Guys, we're not even at 1%. We're at 0.7% with those two. Now, you start getting into a little higher. Other physical health concerns, 2.2%. They're not being real specific, but risk to the mother's life is not there. And that's not including rape and incest. So, even when you add that, I think you're still at less than 3%. Abnormality in the unborn baby. Well, if the baby is unknown or has an abnormality, should you be able to terminate it? I would argue that no, that doesn't fall under rape and incest. That doesn't fall under risk to the mother's life. But let's just add those together. You're at what? Maybe 4%, maybe a little more, give or take. But what is the main one? Elective and unspecified reasons. Guys, killing of life should never be elective, but you could see how the demon Moloch would fit under this. Because you're just killing children just to kill children. It doesn't matter if they're an inconvenience. It doesn't matter if there's financial struggles. Guys, we are humans. We have a higher form of intellect. We know that having sex can procreate. So realistically, if you're not in a position to have children, men, you should be keeping it in your dang pants. Women, you should be shutting your legs. It's that simple. You have to start taking accountability. Kids are not things you should just kill because they're inconveniences. But once again, maybe these percentages are out of a small number, right? Like, if you have 20 kids that are aborted and 95 of them are for elective, maybe there's not many. Maybe there's not many going on. Maybe this whole sacrifice to Moloch, where Moloch actually fits this, maybe it's just being exaggerative. So let's just take a look real quick. Look at that. Approximately 1 126,000 clinical abortions were performed in the U.S. last year. This is in 2025. Guys, that is crazy. And here's the thing, right? We may not even be saying, hey, when these women are going to get abortions, they may not be even doing it to actually sacrifice to Moloch. But here's the thing: child sacrifice is a big deal. It really is. And whether you're worshiping him or not when you're doing it, the fact is these demons have power when you do certain acts. And here's the other thing: Planned Parenthood isn't known for the cleanest reason as to why it was created. I mean, the lady who essentially created it wanted to kill black children. She was stated on record for saying this. So you think a woman like that may not have other or ulterior motives? Yeah, she probably did. But here's the thing: that's over 1 million babies that are aborted, 1 million children that are sacrificed. And whether people know it or not, our actions have consequences, and they do affect our civilization. Look, people have been proving left and right there is a spiritual side. So it's not crazy to think that by your actions, whether it's 100% meant to go to Moloch or not, that your actions aren't pleasing to him. And if your actions are pleasing to him and he somewhere gets stronger, that means other areas he can affect. So once again, let's take a video, because maybe this 1 point something million, it's mothers, even though they don't give a specific thing. Maybe, maybe most of them don't really care. And here's the thing: I don't really believe it, because I think most people know what they're doing. I think most people are just looking to have a fun time. And guess what? We're going to talk about that in a little bit, because there's 3 demons that are here that I'm going over that I see that fit major issues in America. But I want to show you a video, because this is how far America is falling. So let's watch this. I'm going to rewind this. But listen to what this woman says here.
I love abortion. Your stuff sucks.
You love abortion?
Yes.
What do you love about it?
What do you like about
I
it?
like that people don't die through birth, and also babies aren't being born.
By the way, C-sections eliminate a lot of risk to the mother. It dang near eliminates it. So this whole thing that, people who don't want, or, people don't die through birth, that's actually false, because you're killing the child. But let's continue.
To people who don't want babies.
If you don't want babies, folks, please take every precaution. Men, go get a vasectomy if you're going to have sex with women. You don't want kids ever in your life. Women, see about getting your tubes tied. There are tons of things today. This woman is a complete idiot, but let's keep going. And by the way, folks, she's evil. Like, her ideology is evil. Like, you can love the person and want the best for the person, but this ideology is plain evil. Like, she's talking about babies like they're not human, like they're disgusting, like, hey, let's just kill them because of inconvenience. This is a nasty sickness. But let's keep going.
People who don't want babies don't raise children well, and that is just going to add more children
To the foster care.
system.
So do you think we should kill all the kids in foster care then?
Excuse me?
Is that what you're saying?
No.
Well, why would it be wrong, ma'am? Why would it be wrong
to kill living children?
Yes.
So you see her argument, correct? So she's saying, well, they're just going to end up in foster care. Women that don't want kids, just let them kill, because it's probably just going to end up there. And her logic is actually spot on. Her logic is, well, okay, if foster care is that bad, should we just kill the kids in foster care? And did you see how she immediately reacted? Whoa, 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 whoa. They're outside of the womb. So clearly they have value outside of the womb. She just wants an excuse to be able to have sex, get pregnant, and then get an abortion. because a lot of people today can't handle accountability. And I would tell you that our society is filled with not being able to handle accountability. Most people want ways to get out of anything instead of being held accountable. But let's keep going. I don't want to keep pausing it.
Do you hear the words coming out of your mouth?
Well, the question is, do you hear the words coming out of your mouth? The child in the womb is living, ma'am. Do you think the child in the womb is dead?
Do you think that a clump of cells is alive? Because
The child in the womb is definitely alive, ma'am. The passive-aggressive Michigan.
I mean, that's kind of crazy. Did you see how brainwashed that girl was? Where she's like, oh, clump of cells. They're obviously alive because those cells they're changing. They're changing. They're forming. You know, you can't even sit here and say that that's not life and that that's not alive, because those clump of cells, they're going to morph into a baby. That's the beginning stages of life. So the brain dead thoughts behind a lot of, and I hate to say it, I see this a lot more with women. It's a brain dead argument. Okay, science would argue with you. If you have cells that are forming and morphing into the creature that is a human, and you know that it's human, then those clumps of cells are that's a human life. It's just morphing and going through stages. We all do that. Even after you're born, you go through stages. I mean, you have the baby stage, then you have I forget what order, you have adolescence, child, you have teens, then you have adults, then you go through midlife crisis, and then you go through senior citizen. Like, guys, we have different stages of development even when we're outside of the womb. And here's the funny thing. Those children, even after they're born, the parents still need to take care of them. So this whole thing of, oh, well, you know, now that they're out of the womb, now we can care for them. It's completely stupid, because that child can't take care of itself. So just like it was in the womb where it needed the mother, even outside the womb, it needs the mother or the father. It can't just survive. It doesn't just come out the womb and like, all right, let me go pour myself a bowl of cereal and let me let these folks know what's angering me and let me go fend for myself. No, it goes through stages. So, you know, this woman's ideology is completely crazy, you know, and here's the thing. There's a lot more women in America that have that point of view that she does, that is mind blowing. And the thing is, you know, the thing with demons is they're cunning. They're cunning. If you believe in Christ, you ain't got to worry about them, because Christ protects you. You know, they run from Christ. So if they find a believer, a true believer, they can't mess with them. They can't. Demons are only really scary to your secularists or people who do not believe in Jesus Christ. Those are the only people that really need to worry about it. You know, witches have come out and stated that they have tried to do things to true believers, and they have not been able to. There are actually some witches that converted because when they tried to attack true Christians, they were stopped and they were attacked by what they believe are angels. And maybe in one of these episodes, I'll pull it up where a witch literally describes her journey where she went to attack a pastor. I believe she stated it was a pastor in the spiritual realm. And when she got to his house, there was a being that was guarding it. And when she went to go attack, the being in the blink of an eye slapped her back, pulled its sword all out in the blink of an eye, and looked as though it was ready to kill her. And she stated after she had that experience, she converted, because she realized that if her witchcraft was all powerful, then that creature would not have stood a chance. She realized that Jesus Christ and his angels exist, and that Jesus Christ, the Christians who follow him in his teachings, his actual teachings, not people that preach lies, not people who are like, oh, you know, he's just love. Read your Bible. Jesus Christ taught us about love, but he also called people out, especially with the Pharisees and Sadducees. He called them out. These were false teachers. And he called out evil ideology. But here's the thing. In the Old Testament, God did not play. God killed many Israelites because they built an altar when Moses went up the mountain and they were sacrificing to this idol. Let me tell you something. My God, the God of the Bible, he is not just loving. He is a just God, and he has a wrathful side. So if you don't know God the Father, the Holy Spirit, Jesus Christ the Son, if you don't know them, you need to read the Bible. You need to learn about them. Because I will be honest with you, there is evidence to prove the Bible. And I'm still on my journey learning it. And like I said in one of my previous videos, I will go over that once I have all of it so that I can show others the evidence that is out there to support Jesus Christ. But right now, I don't want to waver too far off. Right now, we're talking about the demons that could be affecting America. Moloch definitely fits that. You see this woman? This woman is so naive and thinking that those clumps of cells are just cells and we can kill them. Guess what, folks? I am a clump of cells. We're filled with cells. Like literally, we are filled with cells. The only thing that really changes us, yes, we have bones and we have muscles, but technically, we are made up of a bunch of cells. One could make the argument that we're a clump of cells, even outside the womb. So, but, that's just me introducing you to a demon that is all about child sacrifice, and me pointing to the fact that America actually does perform child sacrifice. Just because we're not sitting there and literally calling on that demon to go ahead and take this offering doesn't mean that it's not empowering him. But let's continue. Who's next on the list? Beelzebub is a figure originating in the Philistine deity, later depicted in Judeo-Christian texts as a major demon, often called the Lord of the Flies. Let's keep going. I mean, I'm kind of curious, right? Like, what does this guy have to do with anything? So let's look into this. Beelzebub was worshipped in the ancient Philistines. We already went over that. The name translate, we went over that, reflecting his association with decay, pestilence, and corruption. And golden fly images have been found. Okay, so it looks like that's just going over a couple things. Let's read this. I'm kind of curious. In the Bible, Beelzebub is associated with demonic power. In the New Testament, the Pharisees accused Jesus of casting out demons by the power of Beelzebub, calling him the prince of demons. This positions him as a counterpart to God, embodying opposition to divine authority and representing evil forces in the spiritual realm. In Christian demonology, he is often listed among the 7 princes of hell, symbolizing sins such as gluttony and envy. So, apparently, according, at least to this, Beelzebub is no joke, right? But I'm a Christian. I don't fear him. But let's look at this again. Decay, pestilence, and corruption. Is America dealing with corruption today? Are we having a corruption issue? And one could even make the argument, because I actually went with corruption another way, but could corruption of the mind fall under this? Because I would say if he is of corruption, guess what? He can definitely mess with people's minds. And one might say transgenders would fall under this. People that do not believe in Jesus Christ are not covered. So you have to understand that as we get further and further from Jesus Christ, we open up the doors in America, not me, because I ain't worried about it, but we open up the doors in America for the demons to start doing what they do best. They destroy. That's what they're known for. Anything that is of God, they destroy. And I don't know how many how many times we have to constantly go through this where Jesus Christ is being attacked. Here's the thing. If other religions are so true and they hold the same weight, why is it Jesus Christ that's always being attacked? It's just a thought. So let's take a look. I mean, so corruption, I didn't even pull up transgenderism because it didn't even dawn on me that that could actually mean corruption of the mind. And corruption of the mind could be the entire, well, it is the entire LGBTQ community. It could be convicts that commit these heinous murders, rapists, etc. Like, these are all things that if corruption is corruption and it can go into a deeper form, it could mean mental corruption. But because it doesn't state that, let's just look at other things that are going on. I have a feeling that mental corruption falls under that. And let me tell you, it would make sense because as the LGBTQ community grows, America is becoming more and more mental sick. Or mentally sick. I'm sorry. I don't know why I said mental sick. Well, I mean, think about it. Why would we be pushing transgenderism? So here's one thing. Transgenderism is not the only thing here. Gays, lesbians, why would we reward a relationship that does not do any benefit to America? If you were to go from just a purely, government structure, government is supposed to give incentives and rewards to things that help the society as a whole. So getting married and the nuclear family is the best thing for society. Children have better outcomes in the nuclear family. So why on earth would the government and all of these politicians be pushing lesbians and gays? They can't procreate. Yeah, they can adopt. And that's another thing. Should we allow these folks to adopt? Because they're clearly in a mental frame that is not normal, and you don't want to increase that behavior and encourage that. And I'm not saying that, oh, well, then let's beat them into submission. What I'm saying is in the next generation, you don't want to have degenerates upon degenerates upon degenerates. You want to have a functioning society, which means you want kids, especially foster kids, to go into homes that are going to benefit them and benefit society. So if two gay people were to actually adopt, guess what? If they had a boy, that boy might grow up to be gay, which means he doesn't benefit as a society as a whole. Now, biblically, we know what the Bible states about homosexuality. So homosexuality is a no-no. It's a no-no. There's plenty. You can look at Romans. You can look at Leviticus. I believe 1 Corinthians mentions it. Like, folks, there's plenty of material there that indicates homosexuality is a sin. Like, God did not permit it. That's not what he wanted for men and women when it came to coming together. As a matter of fact, it states that a man will cling to his wife and they will become one. That is the model that God gave for man and woman. So when people sit here and say, oh, well, it didn't address homosexuality, that's a complete lie. The thing that they're saying is, well, there's a word that they don't know what the translation meant, and because homosexuality wasn't a word in those days, they don't believe it could have been homosexuality. But based off the context of what we do have, the reason why they put the word homosexuality there is because it fits. It is the best translation to depict what the Bible has clearly stated, which is why when people sit here and they're like, well, no, it doesn't address it. Homosexuality never existed at that point. Well, we know that. We know that word didn't exist. In the book of Revelations, it talks about how there's a statue and we were able to breathe into it life. What does that mean? A pastor actually talks about it. He states that that's actually machinery. That could be actually an android where it's a machine. We put electricity onto it and now it moves. Is that so far-fetched from the technology that we have today? No. But the word robot or android or cyborg or whatever you're looking for wasn't there. but we can understand the translation and what's going on, and we can actually see what it means. And now, with today, with our technology, we can understand what they meant. So it's no different in this aspect. We can see what the Bible states because it says a man is not to lie with another man as he does a female. That's clear as day. And I forget if it stated Peter or Paul was the one that actually leaned on Leviticus. He leaned on the teachings of Leviticus to teach people about what God wanted when it came to men and women, when it came to marriage, what it is that God is looking for and what he considers to be a sin. And he used Leviticus and he leaned on it quite a bit. So here's the thing. If we know that he leaned on those teachings, then who are we to sit here and say that just because this word didn't exist doesn't mean this word doesn't best fit what he's explaining? That is the thing that people need to get into their head. Oh, sorry about that. I get a little passionate on this. But anyways, let's try to stay on topic because here's the thing. I don't want to get too far off. So corruption, let's just say, and I dealt with LGBTQ. Well, actually, I didn't deal with the T's, but I dealt with the L's and the G's. But when you get to the T's, and here's the thing with transgenders. I pray for them because you need to imagine and understand these people, they hate themselves so much that they want to be the opposite sex. They want to be something they could never be. A man doesn't have ovaries. There are tons of things that a man does not have where he'll never know, and it's an impossibility for him to ever know what it's like to be a woman. And it's the same thing with a man. And as a matter of fact, it's insulting. It's insulting for a man to be able to put on a dress and then say he's a female. I mean, feminists have been fighting for certain equality, but here's the thing. Feminism was always about women empowerment and equality. If there's no difference between men and women, what the hell have they been fighting for? It's an insult to think that God created women to be this wonderful, beautiful, perfect being in a matter of speaking, but to be unique just for the perversion and degeneracy of American society to sit here and say that there's nothing unique about men and women, that they're interchangeable widgets. That is no different than saying a white man can paint his face black and say he's black. That's an insult to black people. Because there are things that black people and white people are going to experience in life that is different. And when you start sitting here and you're just like, let's just throw out what the human language means, what the English wording is, because of this group of people that they hate themselves. Like, honestly, this is a hatred for yourself that you're trying to cosplay. And then that's not where it ends. You want the rest of the world to cater to you. You want the rest of the world to completely change the definitions of what gender and sex are. They've always been intertwined, those two wordings. Now they're like, no, let's humor these people because we feel bad for them. No, we can't be doing that because our kids suffer. The entire country suffers because now we're pushing this ideology and they have almost a 50% suicide rate. 80% of them need some sort of therapy, mental therapy. You could call it psychology or a psychologist, whatever you want to look at. When we check the stats, and I have a video already posted on there, but when we looked at the stats, it was a horrific number that thought of suicide, that actually abuse substances and alcohol. These people are not well. They are mentally corrupted. Which is why I say corruption. And realistically, I pray for them because I feel for them. A part of me is angry at the rest of the world because they're pushing these people's delusion and mental illness, and they're saying that it's okay. So I'm realistically mad with those who don't even fit that category, because the people who are transgender, they're mentally ill. You don't get mad at the mentally ill people. You feel sorry for them. You pity them, but you recognize that they need help, and you don't change the world. You don't change the world to fit them. They're mentally ill. They need help, or they need to live however they want, but in private. because that is almost a 50% suicide rate. That is a shocking figure. But anyways, that's if, I have a feeling that word corruption means a lot more than what I'm going to go into. But let's look at some of the corruption here in America. Epstein files. How many political figures are in the Epstein files where they said Republicans and Democrats alike were colluding in these files? And Jeffrey Epstein, for people who don't really know, the Epstein files consist of millions of pages of evidence, including court documents, flight logs, emails, photographs, and videos related to Jeffrey Epstein, a convicted sex offender and financier, and his associates. The files document Epstein's criminal activities, his social circle of politicians, celebrities, and business figures, and the investigations conducted by law enforcement over 2 decades. They are stored in FBI's Sentinel case management system and include materials from Epstein's estate, managed by Law Darren Indike and accountant Richard Kahn. So, look at this. It says, where was it? That his social circle of politicians, celebrities, and business figures. People, America is corrupt to the core. Beelzebub fits that perfectly. And if you think this is the only one, let's keep going. Minnesota has experienced widespread multi-billion-dollar fraud across federal and state programs, including Medicaid, child nutrition, housing, and autism services, with dozens of convictions and ongoing investigations. Another series of corruption, because we all know the government knew about this. But another American politician that is implicated in fraud, aka corruption. Let's look at this. Hillary Clinton? No, I'm just kidding. I knew she was. During her tenure as the United States Secretary of State, Hillary Clinton used a private email server for official public communications rather than using official State Department email accounts maintained on federal servers. After a years-long FBI investigation, it was, they're saying that it was determined that she didn't have it, but we all know that there were issues there. And if that doesn't serve you well, let's go to the next, because this Clinton is guilty. So let's look at this. This is Bill Clinton. Don't you just love it when the Clintons are always there? Because I know Hillary Clinton, they're saying didn't get caught. That's not true. But anyways, when you're connected well enough and you're corrupted enough, you can pay off things. And that's allegedly corrupted, because if they haven't proved it, I don't want to get in trouble for saying it. But there's plenty of evidence. You just got to do your research. And here it is. Did the Clinton administration commit treason by selling out America's national security to allow China to receive technical assistance that improved its missile technology in exchange for campaign cash? Yes, according to National Secretary Specialists Edward Timberlake and William C. Triplett II, who wrote the book Year of the Rat. How Bill Clinton Compromised U.S. Security for Chinese Cash. They exposed the frightening specter of multiple conduits of influence leading directly from Communist China's leaders to the president. Another thing of corruption. Folks, if you look at our politicians, you will find corruption at its core. If you look at all of the celebrities, you're going to find Satanists all over the place. You will find them. And here's the thing. This is not a joke. These are demonic forces that are going against our society. And as they grow, Christians are going to start to be what you would call not just minority, but they will start to become, and I'm trying to think, persecuted. And they already are. You're already seeing people going into churches, shooting up churches, killing Christians. Let me tell you something. Christians are being taught to be soft. We need more hardcore Christians. Do you know what caused the Crusades? The Crusades were in response to Muslims killing and enslaving Christians. This is what caused the Christians to act. This is what caused them to pick up their arms, go to fight, and to kill their enemy. Let me tell you something. I don't advocate for killing, but there may be a time where Christians are going to have to start to unite, and there are going to be things that may need to be done. If we don't fight now, and we don't fight to change the laws while we can still keep it civil, then we are going to have a tough choice on our hands. So once again, I went through several pieces of corruption. I even explained to you how corruption can be mental corruption, and that was Beelzebub. Let's go into our last one here. Asmodeus. Ooh, let's look into Asmodeus. Asmodeus. Anyways, I couldn't help myself. I had to say it weird, but let's look into it. Let's see what's going on here. Asmodeus is a powerful demon, often called the king of demons or a prince of hell. Probably one of the 7, associated with lust, wrath, and the disruption of marriages in religious and mythological traditions. Asmodeus. Well, we don't need to go into all the names. His name likely derives from, I don't care about any of that. Okay, so I guess that's pretty much all they're going to go into right there. I'm sure if we want to, we can really go into it. But I just want a general thing of what he stands for. Lust. Are we dealing with lust? Are we dealing with a disruption of marriages? In America, especially in the religious marriages? Well, I didn't really look up too much religious because the truth is, I just wanted to know what are the stats on marriage in general. What's the thing of lust? What's going on here? So we have actually been teaching women to fight for promiscuity. So I looked at the definition. What does promiscuous mean? So let me look here. Let's do this. So many transient sexual relationships. That just means we've been pushing women to sleep around a lot. And the reason why they've been doing that is because they are trying to fight for equality. Because men apparently used to be able to do that with no repercussions. Not your average man. Nope. Average men were never really able to do that. Men who could really have multiple wives and have all these concubines were usually, depending on the society, they were usually rich people, nobles, kings, things like that. Your average man, it was never, if you were a Christian and you were part of the faith, it was never socially acceptable for you to do that. Not at all. Your community would actually look at you and shame that behavior. And it should be. People, we need to bring back shaming. Because a lot of people used to really look at the consequences and be like, man, I'm going to be shamed for this. This isn't right. Well, one, you shouldn't do it because, the Bible, who would have thought? But you shouldn't be having sex in wedlock because of the Bible. It does describe that to you. But the thing with the Christian community is when you actually have a tight-knit community, they help you. They help you to keep your marriage working. They help you to try to live as holy of a life as you can. So women have been pushing for promiscuity, and that's why I pulled up. What does this mean? It means having many sexual relationships. Yeah, but promiscuity has been a thing mainly used by women now. They even had a woman, I think her name was Nelly Furtado, who did a song, Promiscuous Girl, right? And let me tell you, there's nothing empowering about promiscuity. Why do you think the abortion rate is up so much? Why do you think sexually transmitted diseases are getting around? Didn't think about that, huh? But let's take a look, because this is about, we're trying to get into, could Asmodeus be doing this? And he has to do with lust and disruption of marriage. So what do you do when you get married? Before you get married, you date. Let's take a look. Yes, recent research indicates that many men, especially younger men under 30, are dating less and often choosing to remain single. But Let's keep going. Recent studies show a significant increase in single men under 30, with over 60% of young men reporting being single compared to lower rates in previous generations. Pew Research data highlights that 63% of men aged 18 to 29 were single in 2022, reflecting a growing trend of men opting out of dating or seeking casual rather than committed relationships. This trend is more pronounced among Generation Z men, many of whom did not have relationships during their teenage years. It's kind of sounding like Asmodeus is doing his thing with promiscuity on the rise. And now he's disrupting marriage. That's a crazy figure. America is having a birth rate crisis. But instead of fixing what we have here, they're trying to flood our streets with illegal immigrants, and we're having a whole other set of problems. But that's not for this topic. But ladies and gentlemen, Asmodeus, right there. I've already showed you three apparently major demons that are attacking major structures in America. And I'm not even done yet. This is just dating. Let's look at the marriage rate. 6.1 per 1,000 people. The marriage rate in the United States has been declining, with 2,041,926 marriages recorded in 2023, resulting in a rate of 6.1 per 1,000 people. This marks a recovery from previous lows, as the rate had been at its lowest point in recorded history since 1972. However, the overall trend shows that the percentage of people getting married has been steadily dropping, with the last significant increase occurring in 2016. Additionally, the average age of first marriage has been increasing, with the average age for a first marriage being 30.2 years for men and 28.6 for women in 2024. Ladies and gentlemen, what does this mean? The demon known as Asmodeus has been working in America. These three demons have been working. They have been attacking, and they have been succeeding. America is in trouble, and Christians need to get off their lazy behinds and start reading the word and start getting out there and fighting. We need to start showing up at the voting boxes. We need to start putting in people that are actually going to make a difference. And if these people aren't going to make a difference, and there's nobody that is Christian that is willing to stand for Christian beliefs, then dang it, Christians need to start getting out there and running for political office. Because a lot of these politicians are saying they're Christians, and they're saying, well, let's give thanks to God, and they're saying they're Catholic, and then you're realizing that they're none of them. They're false. They're liars. Manipulators. They're degenerates themselves. It is agitating how many politicians I have seen sit here and state that we're Catholic and that we believe in God. What God do you believe in? Because if you're Catholic, you believe in Jesus Christ, who's in the Bible. Abortion is not a biblical thing. Never has been. But I get it. If the Bible doesn't draw you a nice, stupid picture that actually 100% treats people like retards and tells them point blank, because here's the funny thing. If it doesn't draw you an outline that says you cannot kill children in the womb, then people sit here and play stupid like there's nothing else in the Bible that states that. One of the 10 commandments, thou shalt not murder. It means you're not allowed to take another human life unjustifiably. Or unjustifiably, not believe. I'm sorry, I don't know what the hell that was. But unjustifiably. Killing a child because it is inconvenient is not justifiable. You're violating the 8th commandment. And all of you Democrat politician hypocrites, when you say you believe in Jesus Christ, you're a bunch of liars. And I'm sorry, I'm getting a little heated because America needs to wake up. I just went over 3 major demons that are attacking us, and they are full on blast. But anyways, I get heated because people look at Christians as perfect. And the thing is we're not. And I get that. And I get these politicians, I'm not holding them up to a perfect standard, but they're clearly violating the Bible, the law that God has laid down, and they don't care. They don't care. That's why I'm mad. Because they make Christians look bad, and they show people that Christians are hypocrites, that Christians don't even follow their own teachings. And here's the thing. It's one thing to sin. It's one thing to fall, on one moment of temptation. It's one thing to do that because God says we're never going to be perfect. The Bible gives you gives you such a way of life that God describes that you will never be able to meet it. It's impossible, but that is not a go ahead and sin and you'll get out of jail free card. That is stating that even though you're not going to be able to be perfect and that you're not going to be able to live up to these standards, you do your best to try. So when I see politicians say, I believe in Jesus Christ, but then I also believe in the woman's right to kill the child, and this asinine excuse, it's her body, her choice. No, correction. She actually made the choice with her body. Before she got pregnant, she was 100% able to choose whether she had sex or not. That's when you can say your body, your choice. You don't get to do an act where a child and another human life will be created and then just say, let's kill it out of convenience. That right there is a stupid argument. It is an absolute idiotic argument. You need to do better, America. You need to do better, Christians, because I'm sure there's plenty of women out there that are Christians that have infiltrated the church and state they're Christians, and they believe in abortion. You cannot be a Christian and believe in homosexual marriage, believe that transgenderism is normal and okay and should be pushed, and believe in abortion. You cannot do it. You can't say you follow God's teachings if you're for that. But anyways, let me bring it down a little bit. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this. I really wanted to show you this because it's very important, that people understand that when Christians get mad, there's more forces out there that are constantly on the move. They're constantly on the move. And the thing is Christians need to be constantly on the move. They need to be just as forceful. They need to be just as pushing because the thing is the enemy doesn't rest. The enemy is on. They're on. I don't even know how to describe it, right? Like if you say if this was a vehicle, they would be on sport mode, and that's the thing. They're on high drive. They're not slowing down and they're speeding up. And the thing is we have so many people that are against us. Muslims are on the rise. They're procreating at a higher rate. So we have to be careful with that community as well. Why? Because Muslims believe in Sharia law. Sharia law? Well, the American women here are probably the only stupid, and I hate to say this, but American women are the only ones that I see, and maybe it's because I live here, that are sitting here and having feminists cheering for Sharia law. Clearly, these women don't know what the hell they're talking about because you're talking about Sharia law. Do your dang research, people. Sharia law is great for the men. Wonderful. It's wonderful for people like me. It ain't good for women. So, but anyways, Guys, I hope you enjoyed this presentation. I hope you enjoyed what we went over tonight. And there are many more demons that are out there that are named, and learning what they are, what they do, and learning on how they could be influencing America it's definitely worth looking into. Well, one, and this podcast is more for Christians, it's more for believers. But if there are non-believers that watch it, hey, you're welcome to. We're not discriminating here. But you know, it's important to know your Bible. It's important to know your word because you need to know how to defend yourself against these enemies. But you also need to know, at least you should know a little bit of what these enemies are capable of, what they can do. Now, if you're a true believer, if you really believe in God, you don't need to worry about it. God's got you covered. You know, as I would say, God is Big Daddy. Big Daddy. Big Daddy's got me covered. I ain't worried about it, right? Holy Ghost, Holy Spirit, He watches me, He guides me, He teaches me. And why? Because I am washed from the blood of Jesus Christ, who died on the cross for my sins. So, people need to understand how these things work. So I hope you guys really enjoyed it. If you have any questions, please comment. Comment on if you think I got something wrong in the Bible. We can look at it together. Now, this is if you're really looking for honest information exchanging and actually looking into this and learning together. If you're just there because you just want to combat me, you don't even know, you haven't even done your own research, you're just trolling me. Guys, I'm going to troll you right back because I have no problems being a jerk back. Because here's the thing, Christians aren't supposed to just take it. You can be smacked and turn the other cheek. No big deal. But when it comes to the comment section, I ain't turning other cheeks, guys. So if you want to troll, I'll troll you back. The only thing is I don't need to get disrespectful to troll. I can have fun with it in a clean way. So anyways, guys, I love you very much. Please comment, share. I really enjoy it. Subscribe. It would really help us out a lot. So we're trying to do a gaming channel, a political channel. And this here, I'm thinking of doing more of a biblical and theology channel. So we're really trying to push to get out there because we're trying to cover topics. We might be doing one on financing soon, but politics, gaming, that's 100%. That's what we're covering. But we do want to start venturing into a couple other things too. Every so often, you'll see a new subject because we originally set it up to have one podcast that's a random podcast. So it could be another gaming, another political one. It could be a theology. It could be finance. It could be anything. We could even do sports one time. So, that was always the goal. Right now, we're sticking with politics because there's just so much going on. But we are going to be getting into football. We have a season that we're going to be doing, an online season with a couple of guys. So it's going to be fun. It's going to be a blast. I hope you guys enjoy it. But that's going to be all for tonight. We thank you very much for being with us. The Crusade Cast. Let me say this. It's been fun hanging out with you guys. The Reaper is going to say bye. And this is the Crusade Cast. Out.